from Music Producer School. Hope you're doing well today. It is Saturday, and where I am anyway, it's Halloween, and I'm actually going to be DJing tonight for the first time in a very long time, especially since the Corona deal kicked in. I think I've DJed maybe like 3 times this whole year, and I at one point was probably DJing maybe like 200 nights out of the year at one point, and I do a little more of live music these days. But yeah, it's kind of exciting and weird at the same time to be actually going out and DJing a show tonight. So hopefully that goes well. Hope you're doing well. We're gonna finish up today's discussion on motivation part 3 today. Be sure before I get into it, go sign up for the Music Producer School community. It's free, but it is private, so you have to join in order to see what's going on there. I know for a fact we have some folks that posted some music there to the past few days, so I definitely have some tracks to listen to. And basically, when you join that, you can post your music there, and I will listen to it live on Saturdays, which is today after the regular class that we're about to do. I'm gonna go over there and stream just from the producer school community, listen to your tracks live, and I'll give you some feedback live, and it's been very helpful for everyone so far. So be sure to like and share the stream. If you're watching, be sure to say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. And as always, I hope everybody's having a great weekend. So we're going to do probably a short one today because I think I have a few tracks to go listen to in the community, in the producer school community. So basically, I just wanted to kind of give you guys and girls my kind of final overall thoughts on the motivation side of things. So if you didn't see the previous classes, I would highly recommend you go and watch the first 2 parts in this series. I gave some very practical, I think, tips and examples of how you can keep your motivation high. I also gave some resources. The book Tiny Habits I talk about in a previous class, and also an app called Freedom, which if I could only pick, a lot of people ask me like, what's the best plugin, or what's the best sample pack, or what's the most, important music theory thing. If I could pick just the top 2 things to tell you that are the most important when it comes to producing music, which, as I mentioned, producing music is really about being able to finish projects. And those 2 things, the Tiny Habits book and the Freedom app, I have to say are probably my top 2 pieces of advice. Because again, people have made hit songs with cheap keyboards. They've made songs with, one microphone and crappy drums. I mean, you never really know what's going to turn into a hit song. It's just one of the kind of mystical things. I mean, of course, marketing helps a lot as well. But, in order to get a finished piece of music or a finished project out into the world, it's a lot harder than most people give it credit for. And I think that's where most producers, I think the line of, is this finished or not finished? That's what we're always trying to ask ourselves, right? It's like, well, I'm excited about this, but it doesn't sound the greatest in the world, so I'm gonna keep working on it. And then 3 months go by and you're still working on it, you're still perfecting it. It's just, it's a hard line to figure out. Where, I've noticed that there's 2 kind of camps when it comes to producers. You have the ones that are completely unafraid to just put their stuff out there. It's like, hey, I just got my first computer, I just got my first DAW, I created my first beat, I'm putting it out there, let everybody listen to it. And that's one method. And then you have the other set of people, which they tend to, they get their first starter, studio, and they make something, and they might show a couple friends, but they're like, oh, it's not good enough to put out to the world yet. I need to keep working, keep getting better. So then they maybe make another song and it's a little bit better, or they make a few more songs, but then it becomes, oh, well, I need better plugins to make my mixes sound better. Or, oh, I need a drum machine to make my drums better. And then it's, oh, I need better studio monitors so my mixes can be better and they'll translate better. And that was probably me. I was probably in that second group. Now, to be fair to myself, I did have, as a goal of mine, I wanted to run a commercially viable studio that I would get clients to come pay. And I was working in a couple of my first studios where there was all this equipment around. We had nice plugins, nice computer, mixers, all this stuff. So I was around a lot of those things, and I did see the value in it at the time. But all these years later, I realized, again, I've said this in the previous class, with computers today, when I started in this game, about 15 years ago, the computers we had were not that fast. You could do a little bit, but you couldn't emulate a whole console, mixing console with a bunch of plugins, compressors, EQs, reverbs. You really couldn't do all that stuff all in the computer. So you kind of needed some of this outboard gear. You maybe needed a mixer to do your routing better. The audio interfaces certainly were not as good. So you didn't have all this ability just within a computer and maybe one audio interface. Now, however, for a very minimal cost, you literally have a $100,000 worth of studio equipment all inside your computer. We talked about, I believe, last week a little bit on, kind of getting your computer's mixer to sound a little more analog with some of the distortion and saturation stuff we talked about. So the point is, I just want you to think about, what type of producer are you? Are you the one that just puts stuff out as soon as you make that first mix and you're like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever? Or are you one of those people that you're constantly working and refining and, oh, it's not quite right yet? The trick is you need to find that balance between those two. And that's something. What's up, Vimukthi? Probably not saying that right, but thanks for saying hello, my friend. So what you have to figure out is that balance between working on it too little and working on it too much. In other words, we want our stuff to sound professional, but we don't want to just work it to death, because that's another thing that if you're constantly reworking and editing, you can edit the life out of your songs as well. And I have to say, in my experience, the songs that I have not necessarily spent the least amount of time on, but the songs that I have not just reiterated and redone and kept making, trying to perfect songs, the ones that kind of came naturally and they came fairly quickly are always the ones that did the best for me on a commercial level, as far as sales, radio play, chart stuff. The two, a couple of the records that did the best for me on the charts, I've been on for country music, I've been on for pop music, and I've been on for dance music. I had a number 3 single in the dance world on the charts in Germany, and in America, I had a couple records that made it to the top 10 on iTunes in country music. And the country music one took me a while, because when you're dealing with real instruments, I was working with multiple different musicians. I had to edit and get all this stuff into a cohesive package. So that just naturally takes longer. But I didn't keep going over and over the parts again, which is something I found when I'm the sole person creating the music. That's why I think Prince was such a genius, because Prince basically did all of the music for all of his songs. And to not, that's a feat in itself, but to not constantly keep second guessing yourself, that's kind of the thesis here is, you have to kind of just go with it, go with what your gut tells you. Don't be lazy and just say everything's, oh, well, that's good enough, but don't work things to death. And that's kind of, I guess, where I'll keep that. So one of the final things I wanted to say kind of on that topic about, talking about the radio and with the charts, I just wanted to kind of, put this to you guys and girls, because there's probably a lot of you, especially if you're just getting started, you maybe have not had much, success just yet. However, I would again just say that success is a two-way street. It's a double-edged sword. So again, I don't put any of this stuff up to brag, but just to show you guys that I'm not just talking a bunch of crap here. So this is me with a magazine spread that was done about me as a producer in a magazine where down here where I live, and that's me in front of actually the console of one of the first studios that I worked in. And you would think when you get yourself put in a magazine like that, and I was in another magazine article as well. You would think that was just like you made it, and that would be it. And it's just interesting because I think I was in that magazine. It's been probably about 4 or 5 years ago now, and I was having a lot of success at that time. I had just, I think, moved back from California, and I'll tell y'all my California in-depth story another time. But I had made some really great contacts in California. I was having some success on the charts. I'm getting in magazine covers. My DJ career, like I said, I was playing probably like 200 nights a week. 200 nights a year rather, and making good money. And it would seem like everything, like your dreams just come true. But the reality is always a little bit different. Even though the money was good and yeah, the magazine stuff and the charts, I still honestly felt, and I think this is something that all of you will experience or have experienced at some point. It's almost like, if you really do care and you're a lover of music, and I guess the best way to say it is if you're really a student of music, you're always going to feel like you're not quite there yet. And that's kind of what I wanted to focus this discussion on today. You're always going to feel like, okay, well, I'm okay, but I'm not as good as this person. Or, when I started getting stuff on the radio, it was like, oh my God, my music's on the radio. But then almost instantly, I was like, well, yeah, but it's not a hit song. It's on the radio, but it's not like a hit. Or, oh, I made it on the charts, but oh, it's not a number one. Like almost overnight, I always was like, oh, if I could only get my music on the charts, my dreams would be come true and my life would be complete. Well, you get your music on the charts, and the next thing you know, it's like, well, it's on the charts, but it's not a number one, And I just wanted to warn you that that's kind of the way things always will be, especially if you are a student of music and you really care honestly about the music. I can say that, yes, like any producer, I wanted to be on the charts. I wanted to be on the radio. It was definitely a goal of mine. But the thing kind of that I always stuck to, and I still kind of feel deep down, is my goal for producing, I always said, I want to be the guy that if I get put in the studio with anybody, doesn't matter who it is. It could be a country star. It could be a rap star. It could be a pop princess. It could be a EDM, weird sounding synth, dance song, dubstep. Doesn't matter. I want to be the dude who could go in the room with anybody and be able to add something productive to the song, and be a not just a person that kind of sits there and nods their head and be like, man, it'd be kind of cool, blah, blah, blah. Which there's something to those people as well. They have their place. But I wanted to be the guy, what's up, Ioane? Thanks for saying hello. And what's up, Vincent? Thanks for saying hello. I always wanted to be the guy that could go into the studio, and if people were having issues, they could be like, Matt, what do you think about this? And I'd be like, either, oh, well, the synth needs to be tweaked like this, or the EQ on this is making the whole thing out of whack, or the tempo is too slow, so that's why it feels like it's dragging, or let's try and change this chord right here. I wanted to be the guy that kind of had the keys, to all the little secret doorways, so that when people got stuck, they would be able to use me as the producer and solve their problems. And that's why I always tell you guys and girls, it's all about problem solving. You want to have the knowledge to solve any problem that comes your way. So that was kind of my take on it. And the interesting thing that I noticed early on when I was in studios, I would have these guys that would come in that were, calling themselves producers, and they were pretty good at making beats. But I recognized early on that they kind of just had like that one thing they did, and that was just like their thing, like, oh, this is the guy that he knows how to make like cool hi-hat patterns. or this guy knows how to make, he can write cool chord progressions, but he doesn't really know how to make cool sounding beats. Like the progressions are good, but his drums suck, his mixing sucks. It was always just everybody kind of had that one skill. And I kind of, I guess, recognized I want to have this whole kind of, set of skills so that I can kind of be almost like, the kind of, not, you don't necessarily want to be the do everything guy, but I wanted to have the toolkit to be able to kind of get any problem taken care of. So that was always my goal. And I guess in that mentality, I kind of, when I'm talking about I was having this success a few years ago, even though I was having this success, I still kind of felt like, like a fraud almost, in a sense, because I knew that I still had these weak points. I knew that the songs that I did well with, I almost felt like I got lucky with them. And it wasn't really luck, because another thing I hope you guys and girls understand is, collaboration is also a big key to success, because you're going to, when you find a good person to collaborate with, you're going to kind of fill each other's, holes where your skills are, So early on, when my music theory wasn't that great, I wasn't really that great, especially in the studio on keyboards. I wasn't really that great at writing chords, because I didn't really understand the process on a music theory level. I could sit there and poke around and make stuff, but it would take me so long to figure stuff out, I would get kind of bored and just say, screw it. But I was collaborating with people who were good at that skill set. So they were good at, like, chords and melody. I was really good at rhythm, drums, the production, the mixing, picking cool samples, cool sounds. I was pretty good at songwriting. So we would kind of lean on each other for these things. But in the end, because again, I'm kind of a student of music, I still felt deep down that I had these weak points, and that always kind of not necessarily felt self-conscious about, but I just knew that I needed to keep searching and keep pushing forward. So I just wanted to kind of say that to tell you, it's important to kind of try and assess, what are you good at? And whatever you're good at, recognize that, and don't worry so much about necessarily improving and only doing that skill. In other words, if you know how to make kick-ass drums and write kick-ass drums, don't worry so much about, oh, I gotta just keep doing the best drums, my drums, that's my thing. I don't think that's a good approach. I think a good approach would be understand, okay, I'm good at drums, but I'm not good at, chord progressions, or I'm good at drums, but my overall mix and my overall mastering is never that great. So just recognize what things you're good at and recognize what things you're not so good at, and make it a very front of your mind thing to always be thinking, okay, where do I need to improve? And I used to, and this is where I'll kind of close it up for today, and then we're going to go over to the Music Producer School community and listen to some of your tracks. But this is kind of my final thought on motivation. I already talked about the technical side of motivation and the practicality of it in the first two episodes of this series. So be sure, definitely, I think it's worth going back and watching the previous two videos this week if you didn't already. But I just wanted to leave you with this thought. I used to always think of, everybody talks about the journey, it's just you're going up the mountain, you're going up the mountain, you're going up the mountain. And yeah, you might get pushed back down, but you're going to go back up the mountain, right? And it's a very like linear thing, meaning it's kind of like a line, it's just a line that goes up and up and up. And I think that's kind of a false way to think about it. The way that, and this took me a few years to kind of cultivate this mentality, but this is how I think about it. Instead of just a line trying to always go up and improve, I think about my career and my life almost in the sense of a circle, meaning you're always going to have your high points, you're always going to have your low points, but you have to remember to just keep going around and around and around. And the thing is, the more you keep going around in this circle, you're not necessarily going to get as good as quickly, because you're not just saying, oh, I want to be good at dubstep. I want to be good at dubstep. I want to be good at dubstep. No, you're saying, I want to be good at music. So you're just going to keep going around in this circle. Chords, drums, mixing, mastering, production, songwriting, recording, and then you start back at the beginning again, and you just keep working on this circle, keep making it better and better and better. And it may take you a little bit longer, but eventually when you complete that circle, you're going to have a complete set of skills that no matter who you step into the studio with, you're going to be a positive force, and people are going to say, yeah, I want to work with that dude because he knows how to solve the problems, or she knows how to solve the problems. And again, the overarching goal or theme here is, as a producer, it's up to you to get the song finished. It's up to you. It doesn't matter if, oh, we can't afford a mastering engineer for this track, or we can't afford this, or we can't afford a person to just edit the vocals. So that's up to you as the producer. You need to be able to fill in the holes. And especially with producing at home now, you know, a lot of us don't have the money to hire all these extra people. So the best thing to do is start learning these skills yourself. You're not going to be good at them at first, but just keep going around and around in that circle, and just keep adding those skills, adding those skills. And as you do that, you're going to get better, and eventually you're going to hit a point where I feel like I'm at a point now where I'm certainly not the best I'm ever going to be, but I do feel like a complete producer because I have the music theory knowledge. I have the practical studio knowledge with, you know, I know what all the buttons do. I know what all the plugins do. I know how to use a compressor. I know how to use an EQ. I know what to listen for when I'm using these things. I know what it means to finish a mix. I know what it means to master a song. I know how to do all the artwork stuff for a song. And I also know if I don't know how to do something, I know the people that I need to get in touch with to get those parts finished, and I know how to do it quickly. And like I said, I've done it multiple times now. So my goal with music producer school is, again, to kind of just help you guys and girls fill in the gaps when it comes to this circle of knowledge, and just make you all better producers so that you can be problem solvers as well. So that's going to kind of close it up for my final thoughts on motivation, because I hope that does keep you motivated. It's not going to happen overnight, but it definitely is possible for you to make your dreams come true with music. So with that being said, I'm about to head on over to the Music Producer School community. If you're not a member, go click join through the link in the Facebook comments right now, and I will approve you before I head over there. I'll be over there in about 5 minutes, and I'll be listening to your tracks. So if you haven't posted anything to the wall there, be sure to post a link, YouTube, SoundCloud, anything that's streaming, so that I can listen to it live, and I'm going to be chatting with you and giving you feedback on your songs. All right, you guys and girls, y'all have a great weekend. Hopefully I see you in Producer School community. If not, have a great day. Enjoy your weekend, and I appreciate it as always. Good seeing y'all. Have a good one.